Lee, for those kind words and a warm welcome on this Parents' Weekend. I know you have been here for a couple of days, and that speaks volumes about your interest in the university, and above all, of course, to the quality of the education that your sons and daughters are receiving. And that's exactly as it should be. Brings back old memories for me to be here in Scott Hall. As Lee said, I began my career teaching at Rutgers, having grown up here as well. I taught not in this room so often, but in the equally large lecture hall right behind where you're sitting. Introduction to United States history many times. I look forward to returning to the faculty in the not-too-distant future and continuing to do that work. So your sons and daughters, your young men and women, are attending Rutgers at a very good time. The numbers of men and women interested in this university is greater than ever. Our total student body is 58,000 students. That includes our campuses in Camden and Newark, as well as here in New Brunswick. About 40,000 of them are in New Brunswick, and as I'll point out in a minute or two, the campus is crowded, and we're taking some steps to address that issue. But above all, those numbers are a sign of the intense interest in Rutgers, the belief on the part of students and parents that they'll get a good education here, and that it continues to be a very good value for the money. That student body of 58,000 is more diverse than ever. About half of the first-year students identify themselves as other than Caucasian. And when students graduate, we ask them lots of things about what kind of an education they got, and the great majority say they got a good education, of course. But a point that is made perhaps by more graduating students than any other is that they really valued getting that education in a diverse environment with people who were not just like themselves, and thus getting themselves ready for the rest of their lives in the heterogeneous, multicultural, international 21st century. We deeply believe we're preparing your sons and daughters for that world, and the diversity of our student body is an important component of it. At the same time that the student body is more diverse than it's ever been before, it's also academically more outstanding. Each year, the average GPA, the average high school GPA that our students bring, the average SAT scores they bring, continues to rise, and we are deeply proud of that. One of the many measures of a university, and it's not easy to measure, but we do it, and others do it too. It's sort of the value added compared to the academic quality in big, raw, aggregate numbers of the student body when they enter as freshmen, and looking at them when they leave, how long it takes them to graduate, and what they do when they graduate, and measures of the value added, if you will. What does the institution do? Obviously, at Rutgers, we have the privilege of educating very smart kids, including your students. But all of the indications are that we add a great deal of value to the minds and experiences of these already smart young men and women. And when they graduate, and the vast majority of them do, they are prepared for life and work in the 21st century. That is something of which we're deeply proud and to which we're very committed. The faculty who teach them while they're here are nationally and internationally distinguished in their fields. They're winning entry into such prestigious organizations as the National Academy of Sciences, the National Academy of Engineering, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. All of these are symbols of outstanding productivity as scholars, and that's an important point I want to make here. The faculty who are teaching your students in this room and in hundreds of classrooms across the campus are good teachers, but more than that, they're creating the knowledge that will be in the textbooks 5 or 10 years from now. And because they're doing research and engaged in discovery, they have an ability to get students excited about the material that they're learning. They can add to it from the vantage point of someone who's creating that information in the first place, and it makes for extremely exciting. But you can learn a lot from reading a textbook, you can learn a lot on the internet, but you can learn even more from a faculty member who himself or herself is at the vanguard of creating new knowledge in whatever discipline it may be. We're taking significant steps at Rutgers this year and intend to in the years ahead to make sure that it is a more student-friendly institution to deal with the issues of crowdedness that I mentioned before. Let me me just mention a couple of the investments that we're making in our university. This fall, just last month, we opened a new 500-bed residence hall facility on our Bush campus. That's across the river in Piscataway, where you went to the football game yesterday, and where our science and engineering facilities are located. At the same time, we have under construction 1,500 new residence hall beds, also in Piscataway, but on our Livingston campus, where we're about to break ground for the new business school building. On that same Livingston campus last year, we completed a dramatic expansion and renovation of the Student Center. This was a project that our students themselves had been pushing for many years. They let me know about the need for it soon after I became president. Last year, we got it done. This fall, we opened right next to the students, the enlarged Student Center, a new dining hall, arguably the most beautiful dining hall at Rutgers. I hope you'll have a chance to see it. Several new academic buildings are also nearing completion, and others are about to begin construction. I mentioned the business school building a moment ago. And just a couple of blocks from here, a year from now, our new Rutgers Barnes & Noble bookstore will be opening up. Up till now, the bookstore on this campus has been in kind of dingy quarters on the Farron deck across from the railroad station in New Brunswick. Now we're bringing it right onto campus, and our partner is Barnes & Noble. It's going to be a beautiful place. So I addressed the university community a week ago Friday, in my annual address, and a speech in which I take very seriously my responsibility to set forth the most important challenges that the university is facing, and my best take on how to meet those challenges. Now, I'm not going to give you that address again today, but I want to give a couple of highlights from it, because this is a university that's big time in motion, and I want you to know about it. The most important single thing I spoke about was the opportunity that Rutgers now has to acquire the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. The Robert Wood Johnson Medical School is right here in New Brunswick. In fact, some of its buildings are about a half a mile from here, and they're also across the river in Piscataway, right on Rutgers property, by the way. Currently, the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School is part of another university called the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, UMDNJ. If you're New Jersey residents, you've probably heard about it. But it really needs to be part of Rutgers. For 40 years, it actually originated as the Rutgers School of Medicine, and it was taken out of Rutgers in 1970, and it's high time for getting it back. This is a hugely important objective for the university, and it will increase dramatically opportunities that our students will have in not only biomedical and scientific fields, but related areas such as public health and public policy, and much, much more. We'll also increase the ability of our faculty to do research across the disciplines with faculty in the medical school. And it'll make Rutgers much more like the great public research universities, whether in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, or Austin, Texas, or Los Angeles, California, or Seattle, Washington, where the academic medical center, including medicine and public health and nursing and pharmacy, are all part of the same institution, with tremendous opportunities in teaching and research. Earlier this week, I should say early last week, a committee appointed by Governor Christie, it's called the Governor's Advisory Committee on Medical Education, strongly recommended that the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, as well as the UMDNJ School of Public Health, as well as the Cancer Institute of New Jersey, all of them, by the way, right here, essentially, become part of Rutgers. Some of you may have thought they were already part of Rutgers. In a real sense, they are, because our faculty are deeply collaborative with their faculty. But now it'll really be true. In the months ahead, I hope and anticipate that Governor Christie will move on. He's already accepted the recommendations. Now it has to be implemented. It's not an easy thing. The medical school's budget is about $500 million, and integrating its 5,000 employees and hundreds of individual administrative and academic decisions have to be made, but we're going to get them done. Another goal about which I spoke in my annual address a week ago is student retention, ensuring that students who are admitted to Rutgers stay here and complete their degree and graduate in a timely way. We We study this very, very carefully. I know it's incredibly important to parents. My two older children have recently completed college, and I know I was intensely focused on their graduating on time, as you are focused on that for your kids, and I completely understand that. So we have had a good deal of success in recent years in improving significantly the percentage of students who are retained, who go from being freshmen to sophomores to juniors to seniors to graduation, and improving the graduation rates as well. But there's still more that we can do. We can make sure that every student receives the academic counseling and advisement that they need. We can make sure in particular that first-year students get the special attention that they require. Lots of national studies show that it's very, very important how well students acclimate to college in the first place. If they have a great freshman year, just a great first 6 weeks of their freshman year, chances are they're going to thrive and graduate in due course. So we're strongly focused on ensuring that happens. At the same time, we want our already outstanding student body that I bragged about a few minutes ago to be even better and even more geographically diverse. With respect to economic diversity and racial and ethnic diversity, we're already very good and we're very proud of those diversities. But there's one key respect in which our student body is not very diverse. The vast majority of them are from New Jersey. Now, there's nothing wrong with being from New Jersey. I was born in New Brunswick and I grew up in Piscataway, and I'm very proud of my Jersey roots. But just as everybody gets a better education if they go to school with people who have different backgrounds from them, the presence within our student body of far more out-of-state and international students will make a Rutgers education even more valuable. Of our undergraduates, about 91% come from New Jersey, and almost all of them from suburban New Jersey. Again, I grew up in Piscataway, so I'm not knocking suburban New Jersey, but I know that we could provide an even better experience by increasing the numbers of out-of-state students and increasing the numbers of international students, and we're working very, very hard on doing that. Now, I mentioned the overcrowding of the campus. In part, the crowdedness of Rutgers New Brunswick is a product of the fact that we are doing very well in retaining students and in seeing them through to graduation. So we're taking, in knowing that and being proud of that, we're taking a couple of steps to reduce the crowdedness of the campus. We're going to cut back the size of next year's freshman class by about 4%. We are adding all those residence hall beds on the Bush and Livingston campuses like I've already observed. And perhaps most important, and here I seek your support, Rutgers is working with the other colleges and universities in New Jersey to get a bond issue for higher ed facilities on the ballot in November of 2012. New Jersey hasn't done a very good job of supporting the buildings on its college campuses. And I'm not just talking about Rutgers, I'm talking about TCNJ, Montclair, and Rowan, and all of our state's colleges and universities, and including the community colleges. There hasn't been a bond issue for higher ed facilities since 1988, nor are there annual state appropriations for higher ed buildings. So we're trying to get one on the ballot. I believe we'll succeed, and I hope you'll vote for it in November of 2012. That's another step that we're taking. We'll build some more buildings and decrease the crowdedness of our campus. Speaking of our campuses, we are deeply concerned that they be attractive and livable places for students and for faculty and for anyone who comes to Rutgers. Every summer, and we're just wrapping up this summer's work, we invest several millions of dollars in improving existing residence halls and existing classrooms. Most of our classrooms, like this one, are now smart classrooms equipped with all of the high-tech stuff that makes it possible for faculty to teach better and students to learn better. We invest every summer millions of dollars in renovating existing residence halls, lounges, the rooms, the bathrooms, everything that's required. We've also put a great deal into the transportation system, the bus system on which our students depend. You know, because your students have complained to you, that New Brunswick Piscataway is a far-flung Rutgers campus. This is our College Avenue campus. We have across the river the Bush and Livingston campuses, to which I've already referred, the stadium, the engineering, the sciences, and so forth. And then across town in New Brunswick, our Douglas and Cook campuses. Cook, of course, is the home of our historic ag school, and Douglas is our women's only campus. You know all these things. But it takes a big bus system to run our students between those campuses. In fact, Rutgers runs the second largest bus system in the state of New Jersey. Only NJ Transit is bigger. And as I'm sure your sons and daughters have told you, sometimes those buses are pretty crowded. So I'm gonna wind up my remarks at this point, and of course do my best to answer any questions you may have. But let me conclude by saying again our deep commitment to the excellence of the education that your students get. Our belief that we have to continue improving this university. If we say, well, we're just going to do things the way we did them yesterday, you go downhill that way. Our ambitions for Rutgers are very great, illustrated by the determination to bring the medical school into the university, but illustrated as well by our commitment to making sure that in their classrooms and residence halls and dining halls, your students have the best opportunity they possibly can to get a terrific education, to make friends for life, and to make them very, very proud of you. Thank you for your support for Rutgers, and I would be very pleased to answer any questions about stuff I talked about or stuff I didn't. Yes.
Two quick questions. First, what share of the government of your university budget comes as New Jersey State subvention or subsidy?
Good question.
And secondly, in terms of the bond that you are linking to the 2012 election, is it going to come like the California system of a public referendum, or does it need to go through, is it linked to the vote in the state legislature?
Two outstanding questions. One concerning our current budget and one concerning the proposed bond issue in 2012. The first question was, what percentage of Rutgers' budget comes from the state of New Jersey, comes from the state people through taxes, and the answer is 22%. Rutgers' total budget is $2.1 billion. Around $450 million comes from the state of New Jersey. The rest of it comes from many other sources, including you, the tuition that you pay, and other things that the university does to bring in money. For example, our faculty. Last year brought in more than $400 million of that $2.1 billion for support for their research. They're doing very good research, and that's a huge source of money. So 22% comes from the state of New Jersey. It may sound like a fairly low number, but it's a very important 22%. And in fact, I wish it were higher. You asked about the bond issue, how it gets on the ballot. Yes, it will be a referendum that the people of New Jersey will be asked to vote on. The state of New Jersey cannot borrow money without approval from the voters. In order to get onto the ballot in the first place, it has to be enacted by the legislature and signed by the governor. So legislature, governor, and then most important, the people. Yes?
I have two questions. One is Rutgers going to have the UMDNJ merge. Is the Rutgers going to plan to have introduce Chinese medicine, Chinese pharmacy, all this kind of, because these are something that, as I see, they're going to be able to solve the healthcare cost of the United States. And Rutgers is a leading university, and should step into that area because, for example, for the reflexology, for acupuncture, where my father was very good, he has treated many patients for past 40 years. And I think that's a fact that will lower a lot of healthcare costs for the country. And I think Rutgers should train sufficient, in this area for the future generation. The second question is about the campus bus, because I'm probably one of very few parents who actually follow my son. I see into every class that he actually sit in, because my son chose Rutgers over to all the top universities, because Rutgers is the best university, and the campus bus has an issue that's very easy to resolve. Normally the campus bus is sufficient. However, when it's a rainy day, or there's a storm, or very cold winter time, then the bus shelter is a problem, because the bus shelter all of a sudden too crowded for the student to, when it's the rainy days. Okay, So I think the simple solution is probably for all the walkway inside the campus to have a canopy along the walkway. And maybe on top of the canopy would be solar panels. Then the student be able to still walk through their classroom, not having to take the bus in the severe weather times, especially the cold winter time.
Well, thank you very much. Those are two interesting observations. The first had to do with Chinese medicine, and the second had to do with transportation, especially in the winter time. I know that our faculty and the faculty of the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School are deeply knowledgeable about international subjects of all kinds, including international medicine. I know enough about what's already going on at the medical school and in our Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital to know that they are drawing on knowledge internationally, including Chinese medicine. I'm not in a position to say to what extent American medicine should adopt those practices, but I know our faculty and our doctors to be, we don't yet have doctors on our faculty, are very knowledgeable about that subject. I'm also aware of your points about the bus system and especially the challenges that it presents in the wintertime. But I'm not sure I agree with building canopies all over the walkways on the campus. It would be terribly expensive for one thing. I don't think it would improve the appearance of our campus for another. So I'm probably not gonna take you up on that. Are there other questions? Yes.
Just a quick twofold. On the 4% reduction for next year, is that a one-off decision, or do you see that in future years?
No, I see. Thank you for asking. That's a good. The question is about the proposed 4% reduction in the size of our first-year class next year. No, I see that as an ongoing reduction. I don't mean to suggest there'll be another 4% the following year and another 4% after that. But the slightly lower number of freshmen that we admit next year will probably be the number for future years. So it's going to be a bit more competitive. You get into Rutgers. It's already getting more competitive. And so I congratulate you on your students' admission to the university. And I thank you for deciding to send them here. It's going to get slightly more competitive, but we need to do that, or else we'll be just overflowing. Our success in retaining ever more students and seeing them sit through to graduation means we're full up, and that's why we're going to reduce the size of the freshman class. Yes.
I have a question on the average class size. I understand you're reducing the incoming class to reduce it down, but are there any thoughts to any other ways to reduce the average class size? This is an average classroom.
Yeah, we very much like to do that. But like all big universities, some of our classes are very big. Look at the classroom that you're sitting in right now, for example. Many introductory classes are taught in classrooms that look like this: history, psychology, political science, and so forth. That would be true, by the way, if your sons and daughters were at Harvard. That's the way first year and in many instances second year courses are taught. Yes, we are trying to reduce the overall size of many of our classes. That will critically depend upon that bond issue I talked about before, because at the top of our list for November of 2012 are more classrooms, including more small and medium-sized classrooms, and yes, by the way, we need some more large lecture halls as well. Yes?
Yeah, but when you say you're going to reduce the enrollment by 4%,
The size of the freshman class probably won't immediately reduce the overall enrollment.
no, the size of the freshman class, but isn't there like a mandate from the state that you have to base on your freshman class size on the graduating class of high school?
No, there's no such law. Our Rutgers enrollment, including our enrollment of New Jersey students, has been growing and growing and growing and growing. So I'm not concerned that we'll be in violation of anything like that. We're reducing by just 4%, not 40%, 4%, the size of the freshman class in order to ensure that students who are here get the best possible education that they can. And by the way, the size of the, you mentioned the size of the high school graduating classes, it's actually going down slightly. It reached a peak across America in 2009, It's declined a bit in 2010, a bit more in 2011. Not dramatically, but we're on a slow decline. Yes?
What is your 2011 freshman enrollment? What's the total number
Total number of freshmen?
for 2011?
Okay. On the New Brunswick campus, about 6,500. A lot. Yes?
Do you think Rutgers would entertain or look at opening up a culinary program?
Question is, will Rutgers entertain opening up a culinary program? Honestly, we have no plans to do that. We are, as I said, about to add a School of Medicine, a School of Public Health, so forth. We have our hands full with new programs. There are excellent culinary programs at a number of other colleges in New Jersey, including our community colleges. And on the whole, I think that's an appropriate subject for the community colleges. Yes?
Yeah, I have been through a lot of so-called Tier 1 and Tier 2 universities, and after my daughter got enrolled into Rutgers this year, I'm impressed. The resource that Rutgers University put on, at least for the freshman class, I think is very well done. I give my compliment. And but what have you done trying to, like, besides reducing the class size of next year, now what other programs you have underworking to bring up the so-called, I think you're trying to improve the quality and excellence of Rutgers University, besides reducing it.
Sure, okay. The question is, what are we doing to improve the quality and excellence of Rutgers University? I should point out that he prefaced his question by a bunch of compliments about how well we're doing. Thank you for that. So Rutgers is doing more each year to reach out to the very best high school students in New Jersey and beyond, and trying to reach them and persuade them to consider Rutgers. We're making known to them the qualities of the academic programs we offer, including for the very best students growing and improving honors programs. And we're letting them know that Rutgers has an outstanding faculty, getting better every year. And when that medical school comes in, I'll use that too to try to attract the outstanding students to Rutgers who would like to enter the university, and assuming they do well, go right on to medical school at Rutgers. Yes?
What year you think you're starting the medical school here?
What year? 2012. Next year. The medical school. Remember, the medical school's already here. It's a going concern. It's only a couple blocks from here. We can walk over together and see it. The proposal is to bring it from UMD&J into Rutgers, and that can be done next year. Yes?
What's being done to recruit students, and what is the outlook for the Mason Gross School of the Arts? Our daughter's a freshman there, and I know that they had fewer students join the freshman year than they had anticipated.
Right. If your daughter is a freshman there, she is obviously a very talented young woman, because the demands for admission to Mason Gross is the most competitive school at Rutgers. The only one that comes close is pharmacy. All our students are good, but those two are a notch more competitive to get into. So I congratulate you. Must be the smart parents that you have. Mason Gross is hard to get into for good reasons. It has become one of the nation's finest art schools. The proximity to New York, which is the arts center of the nation, if not the world, means that dancers and musicians and artists who are there can come and teach at Rutgers. And students can study at Rutgers knowing that they're proximate to the great art center in New York. It's a comparative advantage. We're not in New York, but we're awfully close. You can get the train 2 blocks from here and be in Manhattan in 50 minutes. Most of you probably know that already. And it's a great advantage to our already outstanding Mason Gross School of the Arts. Yes?
In response to the question about the number of intake in Rutgers, you gave only for New Brunswick, but I assume you are the president of Rutgers University as a whole. So what is the total number?
Okay.
For campus, for this campus, and for the...
Okay, the total enrollment on our 3 campuses is 58,000.
No, I'm talking of fresh person
Okay.
intake.
Freshman in New Brunswick is about 6,500. In Camden, it's about 1,200. And in Newark, it's about 2,200. Yes,
You've announced that you're going to be stepping down in the near future.
I have.
Has the search begun? Are you involved in that? Are you looking for someone to continue your program?
Well, that's 3 good questions. The observation was made that I have announced that I'll be stepping down as Rutgers president soon. That's true. The search for my successor has begun. I think the search committee met for the first time this past Friday. I'm not directly involved in the search because I don't think it's appropriate for one president to influence the selection of his or her successor, but I'm certainly available to help the search committee in any way that if they come to me and ask. I'm proud of Rutgers' achievements on my watch, and yes, I do hope that my successor will take pride in those programs and continue them, but I also hope profoundly that he or she has new ideas and brings the university to even greater heights based on fresh directions. So we're not looking to someone just to continue the leadership of the last decade, though I hope they will. I anticipate they'll do a lot more as well. Yes.
I'm aware that we have an art program, but do you have any other programs besides art?
Other programs besides art, such as what?
Like science programs or history programs?
Sure. The only reason I was focusing on art is because I had a question on art. We're a full spectrum university. Humanities, arts, social sciences, engineering, agriculture, education, law, business, everything. When we get to medical school in Rutgers, about the only thing we will not teach at Rutgers besides culinary arts is veterinary medicine. But we're a full spectrum place. Yes.
I don't have a question, I have a compliment and a thank you.
Thank you.
As a parent of a sophomore Douglas residential student, although I know this program is open to everybody, I just want to share with you how much we've appreciated the opportunity through the FIGS programs and the Burn seminars that she was able to participate in last year. They really are outstanding and just wonderful experiences that our children get to have.
Thank you for saying that. This very intelligent woman
Thank you.
complimented several things that her sophomore daughter is experiencing, including the Burn first-year seminars. I'm very proud of those. I think I had something to do with originating them, and most years I teach one myself. So thank you. Yes.
Hi, question. What type of cost savings activities has the university put in place to try to minimize some costs across the board?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are always looking for ways to save money. We're also always looking for ways to increase the university's revenue so we can expand our programs as well. The consolidation of administrative functions across units is one way. Savings on energy is another very important kind of savings. Energy costs are going through the roof, if you will. We already have the largest array of solar panels of any university in the country, and we're building a far larger one in the years ahead. Both of them are both the existing one and the new one are on our Livingston campus. When the new one is created, it will generate more than 25% of the electricity for that campus. In fact, it's at peak hours, it will generate more than the campus needs, so we're going to throw it off into the electrical grid and actually make some money on it. We are always looking for ways to become more efficient and effective. On the other hand, I should tell you that one of the reasons that you send your students to Rutgers or to any fine college and university, not just Rutgers, is because you want them to have direct access to faculty and the staff who will meet their needs. And those things are expensive. Labor-intensive activities like teaching smart young men and women is expensive to provide. And so I make no apologies for the fact that we have a $2.1 billion budget. I'd like it to be bigger still. But please know we're also very conscious of the need to be as effective and cost efficient as we can. Yes?
How large a student body will Robert Wood Johnson and UMD&J merge bring to us? How many more students?
They'll add just a couple of thousand students. A medical school, by definition, is not very big. The School of Public Health has some additional students. It will not add gigantically to the student body, nor will it increase the crowdedness of the campus, because there are already facilities in which the medical students are getting their education, just a couple of blocks from here, as I said before. So the importance of bringing medical school in has less to do with the increased number of students, because it won't be that much, but with the quality of education and research, Rutgers' ability to contribute to health care and the improvement of health care for New Jerseyans and for people around the world, and opportunities for students to take courses that are currently available. Those are the advantages more than the numbers of students. Yes?
About donation, how you increase the people to contribute money to brothers, help them to participate to the top tier school.
Endowments.
Oh, the endowments of the university. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. For a university this size, our endowment is not very big. It's about $500 million, which is not a small amount of money, but many institutions have far larger endowments in the billions, in some cases in the tens of billions of dollars. We have underway a major fundraising campaign. I should have mentioned that in my prepared remarks. The campaign goal is $1 billion. We've already raised $575 million of those dollars for the support of students, for the support of faculty, for the support of our facilities. I'm confident we'll reach the $1 billion goal, though probably not while I'm still the president. And a lot of those contributed dollars will go toward the endowment. I just announced last week the largest single gift that Rutgers ever received, a $27 million gift for endowment, specifically for the endowment of 18 chaired or distinguished or endowed professorships. The donor will contribute $1.5 million toward each of those 18 chairs. 1.5 million times 18 is 27 million, and then for each chair, another donor will be sought. Because the $27 million donor does not care to have his name on the chair, in fact, I'm not even allowed to tell you who he is. He requires anonymity. The donor of the other $1.5 million for each chair will have the privilege of naming it. So if you were thoughtful enough to bring your checkbook today, we're striving to increase our endowment, and we're making some good success. Well, thank you for sending your sons and daughters to Rutgers, for your presence this weekend, and for your attention to me. My very best wishes.